Hey, I'm shooting these all in a row so that I get them done. Let's just take a quick look at the map. We're to our very last form, our very last principal part of verbs. So we're looking at our Route 66 map. We started in Illinois. We had present in Illinois with no particular indicator, and imperfect built on the same stem. So that's why they go in the same state. You get 4 stops in Illinois. Then we move to Missouri, where we get the future active and the future middle with a sigma. That's what's letting us know, Missouri. Then we move to Oklahoma, where we get this aorist, Oklahoma, there's where the aorist is. Remember, you can have 2 different kinds of aorists. You can have the first aorist, which are those with the sa, in them, or you can have the ones that are really unusual, the second aorist, and we can't really predict them, we just have to learn them. Then you can have the perfect, and there's 2 different principal parts for perfects. The active ones go in the state of New Mexico, perfect, active, indicative, and then the middle passives go in the state of Arizona. That's where my brother lives, so he lives out there. Finally, we get the things that are all the way out in the state of California. There's 2 things that belong out here. They are the aorist, passive indicatives. Aorist, passive, we're all working in indicative verbs right now. Later we'll learn more different kinds of verbs, but right now we're just working in ones that are like basically can do an action or receive an action. Indicative verbs. So your main aorists are over in Oklahoma, but your aorist passives, the passive form, is way out in California. The same thing is true for your futures. Your futures were back in Missouri, but the future passives are out here in California because future passive and aorist passive are built on the same stem. What? Kind of crazy, but once you get used to it, it will help you out. I found this chart particularly helpful for myself because it began to help me separate out what I normally had thought about as futures and aorists, and all of a sudden I realized, nope, aorist and future passives are a thing, and they're a thing out in California where things are a little bit weird. So we can just throw them out into California. Okay, having done that, let's grab our chart and look at the different kinds of verbs. And these are them. I just find this a really helpful chart. You can try it out for yourself as well. So first we have our present active indicatives, which are those verbs you just have to learn. Pistuo, pistues, pistue, pistuamen, pistuete, pistuusi. If you do it with luo instead of pistuo, what do you end up with? You end up with the song luo, lues, lue, lu, amen, luete, luuusi. Silly song, but if it helps you remember it, it helps me use it. The present active indicative, remember they have no particular indicator, you just have to learn these. These are your base form. Pistuo means I believe. The imperfects have several indicators that we've talked about. One is an epsilon augment at the beginning, and the other thing is the secondary ending. So look at it right here. You can see it. Epistuon. There's your epsilon augment. It's got your regular first principal part stem, and then your secondary endings means I was believing. It's like that video of your graduation. Remember? These are things to remember them by. Future active indicatives, this is how you remember it. It's got a sigma in the middle, like the state of Missouri. So, pisteuso, I will believe. And I'm only showing you the active ones. You would have to think about it a little bit differently with the middles. But it's giving you a basis on which to start, and then you can kind of build up from there. The first aorists are, and the second aorists are in Oklahoma. The first aorists have the sa, like Oklahoma, and they have the epsilon augment. So those are our indicators, epsilon augment. I'm going to do it this way, sorry. I'm doing that because it's the smooth breathing mark. Epsilon augment, and they've got a sa as their infix. And this means I believed, simple past, like a snapshot, just a picture from your graduation day. The second aorists are the ones that are total stem change, radical, we call it radical, or crazy stem change. You have to learn these as well. They're like the present, you have to learn them. Elabon means I took, I received, something like that. The ones that we learned in our last lesson are the perfects, we crossed out the pluperfects, and the perfect middle passives. The perfects are most easily recognized by this reduplication. That's its major characteristic, reduplication. And then it also could be recognized by the ka. That's its infix. But that's not even always there. The reduplication is the most common thing to recognize. I showed you the most common form of reduplication, but read your book carefully so you can see the other forms too. This is I have believed. It's like that graduation diploma on the wall of your office. You graduated and you still are a graduate. Here is the perfect middle passive form of that. It's got reduplication, and then its weird thing, but also cool thing, is that it's got no connecting vowels for the ending. So it just sticks right on to the end of the stem. So no connecting vowels. This would be I have been believed. Like the message that I gave, the good news has been believed, and they continue to believe it today. Here then is our final one. Our aorist passive indicatives have this characteristic. They have an epsilon augment because they are past, right? They also have this as their infix. It's a theta and an eta. That's what's going to come in the middle. And then they have the passive endings. So you should expect passive endings here. Let's take a look at this one, or secondary endings. They're just slightly weird. So here's how you would recognize it. There's your epsilon augment. Theta, eta, there's your infix. And there's the ending. So this is I was, I would put it was, because that's the only way I can think of doing it in this particular instance, but I was being believed. It doesn't work as well in this form as it will. Some forms just take this all the time, but you're doing something along those lines. I was being believed. I was, maybe you could even switch it up to like I am trusted. I was trusted. You're going to have to play around. I mean, it's an odd form. It does happen, and some more common than others. But you can see I'm even struggling to translate it off the top of my head. If there's a better answer, Croy, follow that. Here's some of the future passives. They're very similar to this. They don't have an epsilon augment because they're in the future, not in the past. They do have the theta, eta, but then they also have a sigma because that's a future thing, right? So this would be the future passive form down here. Pisteu, face, nope, face, sorry. Oh my, face, oh my, there it is. I will be believed. In the future, it's going to happen. I will be believed. Again, they don't work quite as well in this form. Let's see if we could do it in the luo form. Lu, fein. I mean, I was being destroyed. Something like that. That makes sense. I was being destroyed by, the poison I ate. I don't know. Or you could have the future form of it. Lu, fei, so, my. I will be destroyed in the future by robots when they take over the world. I don't know. Something along. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Here they are. I was being destroyed. I will be destroyed. Sorry that I moved it slightly off to the side. These are them. The most important thing is to kind of be able to recognize what are each of the characteristics here. That's what this chart is helping you do. And then how do I kind of use this as a base to begin to think about translating each of the different forms of verbs in Greek. These are all just main verbs in Greek. We do it naturally in English because we've been taught to do it along the way, hopefully correctly. When you're learning a new language, you kind of have to break it down in a system like this. So these are two charts that are trying to help you come up with a system. Like I said throughout, if they're not the most helpful charts to you, then just memorize. But the key is not really memorizing. The key is being able to recognize the tense and the voice and the mood. So this is helping you recognize especially the tense as this goal. Okay, email me if you have any questions. Great.